So, John McGrane, let me start with you first. David Blevins there talking about the language of alignment and, in particular, regulatory alignment, which is apparently satisfactory to Britain, and regulatory divergence, which wasn't. Can you explain the difference?
In the real world, no, but in politics, that could be 5 miles apart. I mean, I think the important thing is to acknowledge that people are working really hard on all sides today, as we can see, to bring about a form of words that does work. And all they've done today is hit the pause button, not the stop button. There are another, effectively, 2 weeks to find the form of words. And it's clear that the UK, including Northern Ireland, is working hard along with the Irish government and the EU to find a form of words that does meet the EU 27's needs for assurances on Northern Ireland.
So you're fairly confident then, John, that some kind of recrafting of the text is possible to satisfy on all sides?
Confident. In politics, anything is possible, and where people want to make something happen in politics, they usually do. And it's clear that a lot of work has gone in to bring people this close. And with 2 weeks, my own sense is that the goodwill has been evidenced, and the if you like, the agreement on common purpose has been focused enough by the deadline to get us to this stage. So 2 weeks, I think, is, as people have been saying in recent days, a doable amount of time in which to get a deal done. And the UK, including Northern Ireland, does know that we really do need to use that time well to get a deal, because all borders are bad, and all borders are bad for business, and any border anywhere, frankly, between.
All right. Edwin, let me bring you in at this point. I mean, how on earth do you bridge the divide between what Dublin wants and what the DUP apparently wants?
Well, it's been quite strange watching this all play out from London, I suppose, because we've had all the different players, slightly different views on things, all these tiny disagreements about the language. At least they are talking about the language. If you've got a text on the table, you're a lot closer to a final agreement than perhaps we thought it was going to be a few weeks ago. I mean, really, what matters is whether or not they can get a deal at this summit. And that's the only thing really businesses care about.
And what about the point that David Blevins was making just now? If a special deal is done for Northern Ireland, Scotland and London, other remaining voting areas, will want similar treatment, won't they?
It starts getting very messy when you're trying to, when the UK breaks up like that. Clearly, it doesn't seem like the DUP want that to happen. I think from a business point of view, actually, a deal that works for the whole of the UK probably is the right thing. It's really just about finding then that space that the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, and frankly the Westminster government can all sort of come together, and we really hope we get that in the next couple of weeks.
All right, well, John, we've heard tonight, in fact, it's being suggested right now, this term regulatory alignment is being offered for the whole of the UK by Theresa May, but only in limited areas of the Good Friday Agreement, such as agriculture and energy policy and so forth. Do you think that's going to be enough for both sides?
No. The reality is that, we've talked about north-south borders, east-west borders, borders in the sea. We certainly don't want to compound that by also adding borders between sectors that are in, sectors that are out, because we all know how that can be gamed, how it can spawn other sorts of activity, and it's not really the way forward. What we want is a common agreement on the fact that borderlessness, coupled with if you like, similarity in standards, because nobody in the UK is saying that the UK wants to default to lower standards of public health, of safety, of food, or anything like that. So this is about commonality of standards across the province and across the UK, and with Ireland and the rest of the EU 27.
And John, Irish businesses at the moment, what are you hearing from your members right now, other than the fact that, crikey, let's just go on and do a deal quickly?
I think there's a genuine appreciation in Irish business, as there is in UK business and EU business, that politics is a tough business and people have to work hard to bring together really, complex different points of view. So businesses behind our public representatives on this understands that the hard work has to be done, doesn't want any further delays, because the clock is ticking in terms of preparing for replacement rules and replacement regulations. But time is running on, and we do need to use the next 2 weeks very well so that, frankly, we don't miss the December deadline, in which case it becomes too late for many businesses to prepare.
Edwin, have you been fielding calls this afternoon from anxious members? I mean, are you confident that we will get something by the December deadline?
Confident. I've no idea whether we're so confident. I think maybe we are probably more confident than we were a few weeks ago.
Right.
But it's it's so important. The reason that we need to get this movement now is because we need to move on to transition, because that buys us some more time. If we can get a transitional agreement a couple of years after March 2019, that buys businesses some time. They don't have to do the big contingency planning right now. They don't have to make the big moves, and that really helps everything.
One final thought, Edwin. I guess the DUP have to be careful they don't overplay their hand, because they could end up with a famous ally of Sinn Féin in number 10 Downing Street.
I'm not sure I want to get too deeply into Northern Irish politics. I think the one thing on that is that we have lots of members in Northern Ireland, and certainly for a long time they were, kind of ignored as part of this question, but now they're back in it.
OK, Edwin Morgan here in London, John McGrane in Dublin. Thanks both for joining me.